Sub-Episode 8, Christian Chandler in Off Target Part 2. Drawn September 2nd, 2005. CWC. Last time, I was encountered by a jerk-off in Power Rangers clothing. We battled and I paralyzed him. But he then summoned his change bot, and things became chaotic. I would have knocked that bot out if it hadn't tripped me over. I was then captured. After a cry for help flew from my mouth and into Crystal's ears, Badget's bot dropped me. Now as my sister goes through the crowd, I am falling to the ground, hand and leg cuffed. As Chris braces himself for the worst, he finds himself stopped in midair. A psychic catch? He thinks to himself. Baggett is also confused. In the crowd, we find Crystal using the psychic powers of Magichan Sonichu. For now, she thinks, this is the best I can do to break his fall. Thank you, sis, thinks Chris, now safely lowered to the ground. How did he suddenly stop his fall, wonders Baggett. No matter. Dogpile on him now! Dogpile? Thinks Chris. With pleasure, says the jerk heap, and together with his jerk-offs, he belly flops on top of Chris, crushing him beneath his girth. Ah! Screams Chris. Baggett joins him, leaping through the air to attack Chris's vulnerable head. But he stops short of striking him when he lands. Here's a tattoo, he says, on the house. Baggett grabs Chris's head and rubs his face into the carpet. Ah! Screams Chris. When Baggett is finished, the carpet burn has left a smoking wound on Chris's face, and a single drop of blood drops from it, hitting a button. Hog tie him, orders Baggett. Tighten up his dominant hand and toss him into Cractor's cockpit. Crystal gasps as they prepare Chris for transport. Cractor, having transformed into a fighter plane, opens its cockpit for the jerk-offs to load Chris inside. Just toss him in the back, Jerk-Heaf, says Baggett. You ride with me. The rest of you head back to base in the car. Stop it, cries Crystal. You're hurting my brother. Let him go. With tears in her eyes, she charges the jerk-offs. I'm coming, Christopher. But the Jerk-Heaf sends her flying with a single punch. Crystal slams into the wall, defeated. How dare that jerk hit a lady like that, she thinks. Oh no! Horrified, she looks up to see the Cractor smash its way out of the building on its way to deliver its prisoner. They have Chris, she thinks. I have to go after them. But I don't know where they went. I know how to find out, though. Electric hedgehog attack. Telekinesis, she shouts, summoning the powers of Magichan once again. In her mind, she sees Baggett and Jerk-Heaf running back to base. Are we there yet? Asks the Jerk-Heaf. No, snaps Baggett. We're just a few minutes away from serving Mary her worst enemy on a silver platter. Mary, thinks Crystal. They must be heading to PVC Citizens. Getting there on fast feet will be faster than borrowing Chris's car, so I have only one option, she says, grabbing her Rosachu medallion. Electric hedgehog power! Crystal transforms, becoming Crystalina Rosachu. With her blinding speed, she chases after Cractor, which has nearly arrived at its destination. Later, at PVC Citizens, I sense our servants are returning, says Count Graduan. Good, says Mary Lee Walsh. My mistress, says Baggett, kneeling in the presence of Walsh. I have returned victorious. Here is the being you requested for dinner, one lonely heart and soul. He presents to her Christian, found on a silver platter, with an apple stuffed in his mouth. This is the pits, he thinks to himself. You've done great, Baggett, says Mary Lee Walsh. I've been waiting for this. Hang him above the cauldron. Ha! 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 Got to hang in there, Chris thinks as he spits out the apple. Meanwhile, outside the PVCC headquarters, Crystalina has arrived. Hold on, Chris, she says. I'm on my way. Look out, Mary Lee Walsh. You have another guest tonight. As she races up the walls of the fortress, Chris is suspended over the cauldron. Before the mistress rends a verdict, says the Jerk-Heaf, would you like to beg for your life? It sometimes helps, but often doesn't. If I could transform, says Chris. Silence, cries Walsh, or you will be held in contempt of this court. I have nothing but contempt for this court, says Chris. Guilty or innocent? Asks the Jerk-Heaf. Innocent. Drop him in, says Walsh. Just as Chris is released into the bubbling cauldron, Crystalina smashes through the window. She leaps over the cauldron to catch him. "Chris!" she shouts, and reaches him just before he hits the cauldron. "Crystal," Chris says. "Thank you. I'm at a loss of energy." "Sit tight," Crystalina says. "I'll get the key." Facing the enemy, she says, "Mary Lee Walsh, you have tortured my brother's body, heart, and soul for the last time." "His sister?" Walsh asks, surprised. "You fools!" Count Graduan bellows. "Get her!" As they battle, Chris lays wearily in his bonds. "It's good that my sister's come to my rescue, but I'm still without a girlfriend. Not only that, she's in trouble, and I am unable to help her." "There is a way out," says the voice of Chris's ancestor, the leader of the ancient Cherokee clan. "Ancestor," Chris thinks, "please share with me your wisdom." "Realize the number of friends you've made along your love quest," says the Cherokean leader, "in person or over MySpace.com, and believe that by stopping your foe will help them in some way too." "It's hard to concentrate with low energy," Chris thinks. "In that case," the Cherokean leader says, "call upon the Ancient One powers from your royal ancestors to give you a morality boost. Also, believe in your sister to aid you. May the Ancient One powers protect you." "Sounds good to me. Thank you," says Chris. Ugh. "I can't get to that key," Crystalina thinks, "and I can't fight them all alone. I'll give Chris some of my power." She places her hand on his and embraces him. "Please recover, brother," she thinks. "I can feel the energy," thinks Chris. Suddenly, he begins to transform and breaks free from his bonds. "This is so pretty cure," he thinks as he stands up. "I'm back! Soldier of love and honesty, Chris Chan. Soldier of soul and heart, Crystalina. We are Chris Chan pure." "No way," cries Walsh. "Their power is recovered tenfold. I have a bad hand." "I'll cover you, Mary," promises Graduan. "Mary Lee Walsh," says Chris Chan, "I will never forgive you for shattering my heart and soul. We are going to see to it that you never shatter any more hearts or souls ever again." "I'm ready, bro," says Crystalina. They hold hands, and Chris holds out his free hand, shouting, "Blue Thunder!" "Orange Thunder!" shouts Crystalina. Together they aim their power into the air and say in unison, "Our unique, wonderful souls shall crush your evil hearts and dark souls. Aim for the crystal ball." "Time to get out of here," says Count Graduan. Chris and Crystalina fire their blasts at the crystal ball, and the two beams merge to form the orange and blue Chris Chan Pure Pulse Jolt Lance. It strikes the crystal, causing it to explode with a brilliant light. And when the ball was shattered, the possessed facility returned to what it was, the beloved Piedmont, Virginia Community College. Sunny, happy days returned to PVCC, and all the enrolled students were released from Mary Lee Walsh's dark spell. Instead of the dark, grim, criminal, and corrupted courses, the greater, better math, English, biology, computer, business, and more courses have returned. Christian and Crystal returned to Geptar for his car and drove home. As for Mary Lee Walsh and Count Graduan, well, good thing we had a backup plan, processed Mary Lee Walsh. Together they float in a sphere of dark magic. "Yes," says Graduan, "we'll be back in dirty business in no time." "Overtaking a high school should be easier anyway," says Walsh. "Younger, stronger, more dim students ripe for brainwashing." And